It is 2 o'clock, so we will get this started. Hello, everyone. This is Rebecca Dallin, Assistant Superintendent for Stormwater Quality here at the City of Oklahoma City. I'd like to officially welcome everyone to our first edition for 2023 for our bi-monthly webinar series. We did back it off a little bit instead of monthly. We're doing bi-monthly, so just keep that in mind. And everyone who signed up should have the calendar items for everything now. We will begin the main presentation momentarily, so I want to provide some information to help enhance everyone's experience during today's program. In order to reduce background noise, we ask that everyone keep themselves muted during the presentation. Just had to mute someone, sorry. If anyone has any questions during the presentation, feel free to type those questions into chat. I will be monitoring chat for questions, and I will have our guest speakers answer as many questions as we have time for today. If anyone would like to receive a certificate of attendance for today's webinar, please send me an email to request it. I will put my email address into chat right now, so that way everyone has it handy. Each of the presentations in this webinar series will be available within a week or so after the scheduled webinar date on our website under Stormwater Workshops. And of course, the section where those are going to be posted on the workshops page will be the 2023 webinar series, and this will be the February edition. I will post that link where you can find those presentations toward the end of today's program. The 2022 series from last year will only be on our website just a little bit longer. As soon as I get today's recording to our public information officer, we will remove the old links to make room for the new ones. The previous recordings will still be available on YouTube, so if anyone needs a copy of those links, just email me and I'll be happy to send that information to you. Of course, if anyone has any questions at this time, please feel free to type them into chat. But without further ado, I will play a very short webinar series welcome presentation.
Good afternoon and welcome to our bi-monthly Stormwater Quality webinar series. We always enjoy providing opportunities for everyone to learn how to help keep our local waterways clean. Remember, we're all downstream from someone else, so we all need to work together to protect our waterways. This year's series has several great presentations planned. You will have the opportunity to hear from some of our own stormwater quality staff as well as select guest speakers. We hope to see you for each session, so be sure to tune in. As we've briefly mentioned, each of the presentations should be available online within a week or so after the presentation is aired live. It will be posted on the workshop section of our Stormwater Quality website. We'll put a direct link to that page into chat toward the end of today's program. If you haven't signed up already, please do so now by pointing your phone's camera at the QR code for the newsletter or newsletters that you're interested in. The only way to sign up for either the construction or industrial training and education newsletters is via a direct website link or these QR codes. These options are both hidden in the email service site, GovDelivery. These two newsletters are the main way that we announce upcoming training, webinars, and workshops, so be sure to sign up. The quarterly newsletter is the third QR code, and it provides overall information about what we're up to. You can find this one on the GovDelivery website or use the QR code today. If you miss any of these codes, be sure to send Rebecca an email and she'll send you the direct website links. We also have an excellent Lunch and Learn series planned for this year, and the registration announcements will be sent through these newsletters. Some of our presentations will be live and some will be pre-recorded. We do our best to provide as much detailed, accurate information as possible while also working with the presenter's strengths and their schedule. We live and work in a beautiful community here in Oklahoma City. For more information about stormwater, what we're up to, and local regulations, be sure to visit our website.
Up next is the main presentation for today's webinar. Today, we're going to hear from two special guests from the City of Oklahoma City's Utilities Department, David Sobel and Tony Whitlock. David is a treatment supervisor and has been with the city for 30 years. Tony is also a treatment supervisor and has been with the city for 25 years. Congratulations on your years of service, gentlemen. Your work is both appreciated from both of you. I did want to mention real quick before we get to their presentation. All of our wastewater treatment plants here in the city of Oklahoma City have stormwater quality permits. Anytime that they're doing any construction at their facilities, they're also going to get construction permit. So for stormwater quality. So they have industrial all the time year round, and we keep an eye on them to make sure that they're keeping all their water where it should go. And there's actually some impaired waterways that some of their discharges go into. So we make sure that they get those tests done to show that they're not polluting. And kind of seeing wastewater treatment plants is sort of the other side of the Clean Water Act. It's like point source discharges versus stormwater is generally thought of as a non-point source discharge. So it's all related. Just wanted to mention that real quick before I let you guys take over. Again, if anyone has any questions during today's presentation, be sure to type those questions in the chat. Tony, go ahead and share your screen, and don't forget to turn on that audio to include computer sound.
All right. Thinking I got it on the wrong screen. Can you see it, Rebecca?
Yeah, it's perfect right now.
All right, we're gonna kick it off then. Here's David
Thank you.
Sobel.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Sabo. I'll be doing the presentation, and I have Tony Whitlock, our wastewater quality expert, here for any questions later on. Oklahoma City has 4 wastewater treatment plants and 1 large lift station that's contracted out to Informark. The city operates 68 lift stations in our 5 major drainage basins. And we have 235 industries, 3,000 commercial facilities, 500 medical marijuana facilities, 732 dental facilities, and 15 septic haulers that dump into our system. The pretreatment program is there. It's there to help reduce the pollutants that goes into our wastewater streams, and we give them permits, and they're allowed a certain amount of pollutants that to go into our streams. Out of the major facilities that's contracted out to Informark, with our largest is a North Canadian wastewater plant, which it's capable of treating 80 million gallons. Deer Creek, it's capable of treating 15 million gallons. Chisholm Creek is capable of treating 10 million gallons, and South Canadian is 6 million gallons. And we have a large pumping station that feeds the North Canadian wastewater plant, and it has a capability of holding water in the lagoons of 52 million gallons. This is a flow diagram of the wastewater treatment process, where it comes from the homes. We have bar screens remove the debris, a grit removal system to remove the sand and grit, which is our inorganics, the primary clarification. Number 3, which remove any settable solids and scum that floats, and which allows the gray water to flow to the aeration basin, where we add oxygen to mix with the microorganisms and bacteria. And the settled solids will be returned back to the treatment process. Then the clear water will go to the secondary clarifiers and follow on to the next treatment process of chlorination, where we remove any pathogens before it runs into the streams, and all the biosolids is dewatered and then applied to farmland. So we'll start off with the largest plant, North Canadian. It's an 80 MGD plant. It was built in 1980. It currently have an average flow of 45 million gallons a day. North Canadian is a liquid treatment process, consists of preliminary treatment, primary treatment, secondary treatment, tertiary treatment. This facility also includes various odor control devices such as chemical scrubbers and fierce chloride and hydrogen peroxide. A portion of the North Canadian water we call reuse water will go to OG&E Redbud. We send them approximately like 5 million gallons a day for their cooling towers. And the solid treatment process consists of primary and secondary activated sludge. All sludge is lime stabilized, resulting in biosolids are used for land application. Next slide. Deer Creek. It was originally built in 1982. The facility is capable of treating 15 million gallons a day. It currently treats around 11 million gallons a day. It consists of various odor control devices such as chemical scrubbers, fierce chloride, hydrogen peroxide. The portion of the Deer Creek reuse water, treated water, it goes to Gaylordia, to the golf courses. We send them approximately 500,000 to 1 million gallons a day. It's to fill up their ponds at the golf course. Our next treatment plant according to size is the Chisholm Creek Wastewater Plant, which was built in 1976, and it is designed to treat 10 million gallons a day. It currently treats around 5 to 6 million gallons a day. The treatment process consists of primary screening, primary clarification, secondary clarification, and tertiary treatment. This facility also consists of various odor control devices as activated carbon. And the sludge at this facility is hauled from Chisholm Creek to the North Canadian Wastewater Treatment Plant for further processing. Our smallest plant, which is being built into a whole new plant currently, is the South Canadian Wastewater Treatment Plant. And it was built in 1986 and has a design flow of 6 million gallons. And currently we treat around 6 million gallons. The wastewater treatment consists of a primary screening, secondary treatment, which is a sequencing batch reactor, followed by tertiary treatment. Approximately 1 million gallons a day goes to the OG&E power plant, McLean Power Plant, for their reuse water. Sludge is aerobically digested, followed by dewatering, and the solids is commingled with the rest of the solids in the Oklahoma City project. Witcher Pump Station, it was built in 1981. The facility consists of 2 large stations and 3 aerated lagoons. The main pump station has 4 pumps that each rated at 27 million gallons a day, and we average around 12 million gallons a day through that pump station, which all that flow goes to our largest plant, North Canadian. This is our largest wastewater plant, the North Canadian Wastewater Treatment Plant. Like I said earlier, it's designed for 80 million gallons, and it's average daily flow of 45 million gallons. Inside the wastewater treatment plant, we first start off with preliminary treatment. That's where we remove any rags, any kind of debris, floater debris. It goes to a set of bar screens. The bar screens remove the rags, plastics, toys, whatever is flowing down the collection system. All that trash goes through the bar screens, then ends up into a dumpster, which we take it to a landfill. The next set of process is still in the preliminary treatment, is the grit removal system. The flow here, slows down to a velocity of about 1 feet per second, and allows all the inorganics to settle to the bottom, and those inorganics are scraped to the hopper and conveyed to the dumpster, and those grit is removed and sent to a landfill. And it's now all the organics will continue to flow through the system into our next process. The ideal for the preliminary treatment is to get rid of all the inorganics and trash, and only allowing the organics to allow to the secondary processes for biological treatment. This is the next stage is the primary clarifier. This primary clarifier, all the gray water flows to the primary clarifier, and it will have some suspended solids, and those suspended solids over a 2-hour detention time will settle out. The flow slows down to about 0.8 feet per second, 0.05 feet per second, and then that flow slows down enough to allow the settleable solids to flow settle to the bottom and be pumped out and go pump to the sludge holding process or be treated later. The gray water that flows from the sedimentation, primary sedimentation, flows. Well, here we go. This is the primary pump building. This is pumps the sludge from the primary clarifiers to the sludge holding tanks for treatment for later on. All right, now we're into the heart of the system. It's called the secondary treatment. This is where all the treatment takes place. Our aeration basins consist of this facility consists of 4 major aeration basins. 25% of the aeration basin consists of microorganisms. That microorganisms found natural in the environment, but we concentrate them into confined spaces so we can have accumulation of microorganisms to treat all the pollutant that comes through here. The amount of time for a molecule to go from one end to the other end is about 8 hours, but the microorganisms will stay in the system for about 10 days. And these aeration basins will consist of bacteria, stalk ciliates, rotifers, nematodes, free-swimming ciliates. After the water flows from the aeration basin, it flows to the secondary clarifier. This is where the biological sludge will settle out. The biological sludge will settle out and be returned back to the aeration basin because we just recycle it and we keep a certain volume into the aeration basin, but the vast majority of it is recycled into a circle. And the biological sludge will settle out. You can see the clear water flowing over the weirs, and the clear water will flow to their tertiary treatment. The aeration basin, we have large amount of blowers. The 50% of our electrical cost are these blowers. They supply oxygen to the aeration basin for the microorganisms. These are the screw pumps like I said earlier. Large portion of the settled sludge from the secondary clarifiers will be returned back to the aeration basin. That when the microorganisms are in the secondary clarifier, they'll be in there for a couple hours settling out. And so when they return back to the head of the aeration basin, they've been without oxygen for a little while, for a couple hours, and they'll be without food for a couple hours. So when they hit the head of the aeration basin, they're the most active and responsible for a big portion of food consumption of the organics in pollutants. And tertiary treatment, we at the moment we feed chlorine as a disinfectant to remove any pathogen. In our regulated permit, we're responsible for removing E. coli down to a level of 400 CFM colony forming units. It depends on the time of year what our limits are. This is when we chlorinate, we have to have a minimum detention time of 30 minutes, and with a peak flow of 15 minutes. So it gives the chlorine enough time to react to killing off any pathogens. Chlorine gas and sulfur dioxide is toxic to humans and the fish. So when the water leaves here, it's chlorinated. So the next stage is we have to remove the chlorine, and we remove the chlorine by sulfur dioxide. The sulfur dioxide will remove the chlorine to like a 1-to-1 ratio, and so when the water that was dechlorinated, that water is safe for the receiving stream. So all the species in the receiving streams, it won't be affected. You can see here the influent of the water coming into the plant. It's that's kind of not a bad picture of the influent. Usually it's a lot more nastier than that. But it has a gray color. Then you see the effluent, we call the water going to the creek. We get it to 95 to 98% removal of pollutants. And the picture up above on our outfall that goes to the river, the North Canadian River, you can see that it's got abundance. That picture has abundance of gar. So they come upstream in April and spawn in our effluent. And you can see that on the slide, our permit requirement is that's just a few of the permits requirement that we have: BOD, TSS, dissolved oxygen, ammonia, fecal column, and much more. But we didn't list all our permit requirements there. Like I said earlier, our portion of the reuse water of North Canadian will go to the Redbud Power Plant. They use it for cooling water, and we got a contract is send them of a maximum amount of 11 million gallons a day under contract, but we average around 5 million gallons. And after they use the reuse water about 4 or 5 times, then they turn around and send it back to us. When they send that reuse water back to us, it is high in total dissolved solids because it's been concentrated 4 or 5 times, just recirculating in their cooling towers at the power plant. This is a picture of the Redbud Power Plant up there in Luther. When we have to get the reuse water that we send them, they have to meet a category 3 in the ODQ regulations. All right, we're gonna send up We're going to present a small video here, and then we'll finish up the presentation with what we do at the biosolids.
Did you know over 90 million liters of wastewater is treated every day at Saskatoon's wastewater treatment plant? That's enough to
Hey, can you restart your microphone? We were getting double audio on that, and I muted you and I can't unmute you. Sorry, it was like echoey, and I was hoping that if I muted you guys, it would stop the double effect. Make sure you take your microphone off of mute. Yeah, we can't hear it right now because I need you to turn your microphone back on. I'm so sorry.
On.
Okay, yeah. I don't know why it was echoing, but I guess we'll just listen anyway.
Okay.
As I was sitting here jabbering and talking.
water and waste.
Okay, we'll go here.
Did you know over 90 million liters of wastewater is treated every day at Saskatoon's wastewater treatment plant? That's enough to fill 36 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So what exactly is wastewater? Wastewater is any combination of water and waste that is flushed down your toilet, sink, or tub. This wastewater eventually ends up in the South Saskatchewan River. But before it gets there, it's treated at the wastewater treatment plant.
We use some of the most environmentally sustainable and up-to-date treatment processes at the plant to protect the people, property, and the environment downstream.
So how does wastewater get to the wastewater treatment plant? Wastewater flows from the sinks and toilets in homes and businesses and from industries in the community into an underground maze of pipes called the sanitary sewer system. Saskatoon's wastewater collection system is about 1,050 kilometers long, approximately the distance to Edmonton and back. A gravity system and 28 pump stations located throughout the city keep the wastewater moving. Once the wastewater reaches the plant, an extensive and complex treatment process begins. Over 200 pumps and mixers and over 50 kilometers of internal piping, enough to stretch around Saskatoon Circle Drive twice, help the wastewater travel through the plant. In the first stage in this treatment process, the wastewater passes through a series of screens to remove materials larger than 12.5 millimeters. These materials are cleaned and transported to the landfill. The wastewater then travels to large basins where heavier materials, called sludge, settle and sink to the bottom. Lighter materials, including fats and oils, called scum, float to the top. The sludge and scum are sent to fermenters and digesters, where bacteria breaks it down further. During this process, methane gas is produced, enough to heat about 390 homes each year. We use this methane as fuel to heat the buildings and certain processes at the wastewater treatment plant. Any excess methane is flared. The sludge, about 5,600 tons per year, is pumped into storage cells and used as fertilizer on nearby farmland. The remaining water from the primary sedimentation basins is pumped to another process where nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen are removed using naturally occurring microorganisms. In 2013, Saskatoon became the first city in Canada to recover this phosphorus and nitrogen and use it to create a product called Crystal Green, an environmentally responsible and extremely efficient fertilizer. Finally, the wastewater passes between ultraviolet lamps, sterilizing any remaining parasites and bacteria, such as Cryptosporidium, E. coli, and Giardia, before the water is deposited back into the South Saskatchewan River. Our treatment process ensures the final wastewater does not harm our precious river and downstream users. Back at the plant, all aspects of the treatment process are closely monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by highly trained plant operators. Our on-site laboratory performs about 30,000 analyses each year to ensure continuous quality control, record the plant's performance, and monitor the environment. We're also prepared to expand our operations as our city continues to grow.
We have a 30-year long-term capital development plan and the capacity to ensure effective and efficient treatment for a population of about 500,000 people.
Protecting people, property, and the environment. These are the priorities of the wastewater treatment plant. For more details or to learn about our environmental initiatives, visit saskatoon.ca.
All right, Rebecca, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm sorry, I couldn't get my mouse
It's
to.
the Bob Mills President's Day off.
Oh,
Whoops,
you
sorry about that.
there
Our
we
computer went somewhere.
go. My computer's going crazy today. Apparently yours is too. But
Yeah.
yes, I can hear you.
All right, we'll follow up on the next process of our treatment. Is the biosolids operation. All the biosolids, settable solids in the treatment plant will goes through a thickening process at North Canadian. This is a picture of a North Canadian wastewater plant that is going through the gravity thickeners, where the sludge from the primary clarifiers and what the waste activated sludge from the secondary treatment processes will go to these thickeners. The thickener will thicken the sludge up to about 3%, and then this sludge is then pumped to a holding area. Let's see, all right here. These are sludge holding tanks. They just hold the tank for further processing later on. They just sit there for holding the sludge. We add ferrous chloride prior to the sludge holding process. The ferrous chloride helps with odor control. The iron salt, as we call it, will capture the sulfides in solution, not allowing it bounds it together, not allowing these sulfides to turn into hydrogen sulfide gas. When we're ready to pull from the sludge holding tank, we have 4 large dewatering equipment called belt presses, the 2-meter belt presses. They will dewater the sludge they take the sludge from 3% solids, and when we belt press it to where it's around 24 to 28% solids. And we produce at the North Canadian wastewater plant we belt press on average around 300,000 gallons per day, which is around 35 dry tons of biosolids. As you see this picture here, we add lime to remove any pathogens in the biosolids. It's that we have to, through 503 regulations of the EPA, we have to add the lime to kill the pathogens, and we have to lime it up to a pH of 12, keep it at a pH of 12 for 2 hours. Then for the next 22 hours, it cannot fall below 11.5 pH. North Canadian produces around 12,000 dry tons per year, which is applied to agricultural land. Our biosolids program, we have around 11,000 acres permitted throughout the community. We annually only need around 4,000 acres. And you see right here, the solids from the sludge stacking pad is trucked to farmland. It is dumped on the ground. Then after it's dumped on the ground, it is put into a manure spreader. The manure spreader will spread it onto the ground at about a rate of 30 wet tons per acre. And after the biosolids is spread onto the ground, it has to be disked into the ground the same day per regulations. And as you see this picture right here, this tractor is disking the biosolids into the ground. The biosolids have to be disked into the ground to around 6 inches. It cannot be sown. You cannot see any biosolids on the ground after it's disked per regulations. That is part of our Victor attraction requirements. That way any flies or rodents or anything won't run across the farmland and into somebody's house and a potential spreading any kind of disease, which it's already been lime stabilized to kill any pathogens too at that point also. And so this comes to the end of the presentation. I kind of spoke pretty fast through here, as Tony told me. But anybody got any questions? We can answer any questions you have on this subject.
You could address, there was a question come over Teams that was about the PFAS. If you could tell them about the PFAS
Yeah.
regulations coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, we're over the PFAS regulations. We test for PFAS in our biosolids, and we haven't had any detectable limits. We haven't had no detectable amount of PFAS found in our system, but we testing them on an ongoing basis. They have methods of the removal of PFAS, but they got to do coagulation, absorption, but then you still have to take that to a landfill, and it has to be cradle to grave, and they got a heat to remove it through heat processing, which has cost a lot in electricity and chemical oxidation. So we're looking into those limits in the future as we continue to test for PFAS. Like I say, we only had one hit on the South Canadian Basin, but we did a follow-up test and it came back non-detectable. So all of our tests currently been non-detectable.
That's excellent. I'm glad that you guys are already taking steps to get ready for that, because it's kind of a big deal, I think.
Yeah, one thing what's happening in this city, like the pretreatment program is very aware of it. At a lot of these industries that are being tested for PFAS and throughout the United States and a lot of these, as you know, Rebecca, is some of the industries that takes wastewater from other organizations and they take it to certain few here in the city, and now they're aware that there will be taking waste streams that has PFAS in them because they're not allowed to dump them into the sewer system. So these companies they know that this is coming, and they're coming up with different methods, like I spoke of earlier, how to remove all PFAS, because these industries, they're going to have to have a central location or different locations to dump into, because we're not allowing them to dump into our sewer system.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting.
For example, FBR, is that right, Tony?
Yes, FER is currently they're looking into setting up for treating for PFAS. Now they're bringing in different something to processes to be able to treat for PFAS in the future.
So what that means to us, as we know that PFAS is being brought into different industries for further treatment, that these industries going to have to be monitored very closely, because, different communities outside of Oklahoma City, they're bringing it in as a business to remove the PFAS from their community, and to companies that are able to remove that PFAS, but it to worry about the residue from the waste stream from those companies.
There was also another question about the footprint of North Canadian, how big it is. I'm not sure how many acres it is. Do you know how big that actual plant is?
It's about
25 acres or something?
no, it's more than 25 acres. If it heads from Anderson Road to Hiwassee, and it's a mile in width, about a half a mile. No, excuse me, a mile, mile in length and a half a mile in width.
So that'd be 300 and something acres.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty big.
Yeah, it's a big place. It's a great facility though. And then one other question that I'd asked in chat, I'm sorry, I was just kind of leading questions just because I used to work for one of the contractors that has historically ran the North Canadian wastewater treatment plant. I was in the laboratory, and then I did some industrial wastewater pretreatment for a while. So I do know most of the answers to my questions, but anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Good questions. And then another question I asked, which I didn't know the answer to, was with the South Canadian renovations, about how much more wastewater will it be able to treat in a day, and looks like the answer was approximately 3. So it's going to go up from a 6 million gallon per day plant to a 9 million gallons per day. So that's pretty cool, because you guys are switching it over from SBR, the sequential batch reactor, to the full like the
Yeah,
other
well,
plants, right?
Yeah, well, it's going to be an oxidation ditch. It's going to be activated sludge, yes.
It'll
Okay,
be
yeah.
activated sludge, and it's actually, its capacity will be 9 million gallons a day, but then it also has a future project to where it can be brought up to 12 million if needed, but they don't really anticipate that for many, many years. But as of now, when it opens in 2026, it'll be 9 million gallons a day.
Yeah, they believe that, the engineers believe that 9 million gallons will pretty much all the growth that's allowable growth in that drainage basin will be
Mhm.
peaked out at about 9 million gallons.
Cool. And then another question that I asked, just again, because we're in a stormwater thing, does rainwater affect the amount of wastewater flowing in facilities? And of course, Tony said yes.
Yeah.
Can easily
for
see double
example,
the flow.
Yeah, for example, at North Canadian, if we get a very high rain event after a couple of days, we go for average of 45 million gallons up to, we only can pump a maximum of about 155, 160 million gallons, and we'll pump the 165 million gallons through the plant, but we have some storm lagoons that hold back 40 million gallons. We'll have to end up bypassing some of that flow during that to the storm holding lagoons during that event.
Probably the only plant that don't really get a lot of I would be South Canadian, but Chisholm Creek probably, it averages about 6 million a day now, and it can easily go to 15 million during rain. And then Deer Creek will average about 11, and it'll go to about 23 or 24 a day. And it'll do that for about 2 weeks after a rain.
Wow.
So Deer Creek is impacted a lot.
Yeah,
during rain.
yeah, we told line maintenance that, you know, on the, after a rain event, the collection system should reside within, you know, the 2 to 3, 4 days, you know. But the Deer Creek, it'll hold for like 2 weeks. So there's some reason why it's holding. I don't know if we're going because of streams or pipes or, you know, a lot of I through some means.
And you guys are mentioning I. Go ahead and tell the audience what that is.
Yeah, I in the collection system is on a sewer pipe if it flows into the pipe or flows out of the pipe. So I infiltration. So if you got water flowing into the pipe through a manhole or something, or if it's flowing into the pipe because the pipe they got cracks in the pipe. If you got groundwater flowing into the pipes because of high water table, it can flow into the pipes. If you got pipes got cracks, or it can flow into the pipes from if you have a river or a creek bed rise and it flows into a low-lying manhole, or if the manhole is above raised manhole, it can, if it gets that high up there, like on the Deer Creek Basin, they raise a lot of them manholes up there by 178th and North Meridian, pretty high if you drive by there, because even the roadway they got you can see how that place area floods when you drive up on 178th and you see a little rain gauge on the side of the road, tell you how many feet that that road is underwater.
Yeah. And it's my understanding that it's actually against city code to allow stormwater into the sanitary sewer pipes. So we need to make sure that we're paying attention to any cross connections or any like open areas, like a open clean out or something like that, that might need a cap on it or something like that. So it can reduce as much of that water getting in into the sanitary sewer system as possible.
Yeah, it's against regulations here in Oklahoma and in the city to allow stormwater into the sewer system, and vice versa. We're not allowed to put our sewer system into their stormwater.
Yeah.
No.
And I also appreciate the fact that, you know, some cities, especially cities with combined sewers, they end up with a lot of sanitary sewer or combined sewer overflows, excuse me. And during our heavy rain events, we have a lot of precautions in place so that way we don't just dump raw sewage into our waterways. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's talking about stormwater. I've seen a big difference in our water quality of stormwaters from the late 70s, 80s till now. I mean, developing the stormwater section and oversight with EPA, state, and the city has been it's been very well for us. At the Deer Creek wastewater plant, you know, up there by the Hefner water plant, they have that little stormwater catch basin. When the stormwater flows, it catches, it slows down, catches, and gets treated before it flows on to downstream rivers. But the North Deer Creek, we have a vision of at the north end of the plant to make something similar as what you see at the Lake Hefner on the northeast side of Lake Hefner. The same thing. That way, all the runoff will go through little natural storm collection basin and let the environment clean the water, stormwater.
Yeah. I'm gonna take over sharing. I think it'll let me. I pulled up our GIS map, and I was just gonna turn on the where'd it go? There it is. The wastewater layers. So just for grins and giggles, so you guys can see just how much of the city is covered by the wastewater infrastructure. All the sanitary sewer lines are all represented by the things that just turned on. But you can see that there's a lot of places in the outskirts that probably use septic tanks, and they aren't directly connected to the wastewater plants. But that's certainly a lot of miles and miles and miles of infrastructure to keep track of. So the line maintenance folks at the city have their work cut out for them. That's for sure. So I just thought that was interesting. I don't see any other questions in chat, but of course, if anyone does have any questions, feel free to type those in. Dave and Tony, if you'd hang out for a few minutes, I'm going to go ahead and start my closing spiel. But that way, if anyone does have any questions that we get typed into chat here in just a sec, hopefully we can have you guys answer those too. But yeah, thank you guys so much for a great presentation. As a reminder, if anyone would like to receive a certificate of attendance for today's presentation, please send me an email to request it. We ask that you don't request certificates in chat because we may not have your email address linked to your username on Teams. I should be able to get the certificates out this week. And also, as we've mentioned, a recording of today's presentation will be available online within a week or so. Sorry, I'm typing. Oh my goodness. My computer's insane today. Could be the operator of the computer, but I'm going to say no. It is the computer. Just kidding, of course. So I've put the link into chat now for that direct link to get to the recordings of our presentations during this series. So I still don't see any questions in chat. Again, if anybody has any at any time, feel free to type them in. But thank you all for attending today's session. I hope everyone enjoyed this presentation and continues to enjoy our webinar series. We hope to see you again in April for the next installment of our bi-monthly webinar series. Have a great afternoon, everyone, and we'll see you in a couple months, I hope.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you. You guys did great as always. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.